So you remember yesterday I set Maya to render, and at some point in the lower, this is something different, in the lower right hand corner down here, it's a rendering completed. Woo! So what I do is I go to the folder, and it's in Documents, Maya, Projects, Default, and since I was rendering with well, actually it was Mental Ray, it will end up in the Images folder, unless you do something different. What it has done is what's called a frame stack, and it's made it with EXR files. I think I set it to my IFF, but it's probably related to that RenderMan bug. Never mind. It has made a frame stack of 120 frames, and we can just take a look at one of them. There you go. Beautiful frame. So the next thing is to make this or turn this into a video, and there's a whole range of different applications I can use to do that. We can use After Effects or Nuke or Premiere or DJV View. There's a lot of different things. We will just use After Effects because it's super easy to do it. So I will start up Adobe After Effects. I think my version is newer than most of you, so it will look slightly different. But it is the same thing. They probably just added some extra box or something like that. So After Effects, just to cover that quickly, is a compositing / motion graphics application. It works. Well, let's see. This is something that is different in the new version. So it works more or less like Photoshop, but with animated sequences. So you have, if you know Photoshop, you have layers of imagery, and you can stack them and blend them together and do all kinds of different things. In After Effects, you can do the same thing, but with video and animation. The way the application is laid out by default is that we have this center area that is like the preview area where you see your stuff. We have at the bottom here, we have the timeline. The layers will be stacked here, and there will be time sliders and keyframes and stuff in the right area. And up here we have our assets, as well as controllers for whatever we're going to do. So I need to import my file, so I just right click and go import file. I know it seems logical that you will choose the multiple files because you have a frame stack consisting of 120 frames, but that option is for if you have multiple videos or multiple frame stacks. So the way that After Effects will see our frame stack is basically as one video. So I choose File, and then I just need to navigate to where it is. And I'll just choose the first one, and by default it will have this sequence thing checked on. It is probably down in this corner for you because they moved it. I don't know why. So import, and you can see it imports this, and you can see the icon here sort of indicates that this is a frame stack. So it's a bunch of frames, and it uses the numbering of the frames to figure out what order they should be. You can also see that it tells us a bit of information about it. It's 960 by 540. That is a quarter of full HD, because it's like right. It's just one box. of the Full HD. It has a pixel aspect ratio of 1, because pixels are not always square. It's easier if they are square, but sometimes they're not. It tells us the duration in seconds. There's 4 seconds if it is played back at 30 frames per second. After Effects defaults to assuming that the sequences are 30 FPS, because that's the standard in the US. Well, actually it's not, because the real standard in the US is 29.97 frames per second, but that has to do with audio and old technology and stuff. But never mind. And then it tells us the format details. EXR is a floating point file. It's being interpreted as being a pre-multiplied alpha channel. That doesn't matter in this sequence because we have something everywhere. And it's zip compressed. And it's a linear format. That's also the EXR thing. So what I do is I can drag this either down into my composition area or onto this little composition icon here. If I do that, it will create a composition. It will add my layer, and it will add the time bar here, and it will make the composition the same length as what I imported. So now I can just press the play button here, and it will play back. You can see it makes these little green dots. That's because it caches each frame. So it saves it in memory. So the first time it's not running at real time. You can see it has this red thing. And then now it should be able to run at real time, because now it's all in memory. So this is at 30 FPS, but I really want to do this at European TV standard. So I want this to be 25 FPS. You can see that when I did this, it created a composition as well. So I'll just delete that composition. Yeah. Do you want to delete it? Yes. And then I will right-click this sequence and go to Interpret Footage, Main. And in here I can tell After Effects how I wanted to work on this sequence. So what I want is I want the frame rate to be 25 instead. And my OK button is down here somewhere, so I'll just press Enter and that should do it. So now you can see the length has changed. It's now 4 seconds and 20 frames at 25 frames per second. And if I make a composition now, that composition will also be 4.20 and 25 FPS. And I can play back by pressing the spacebar. That's the same method again. Then all I need to do is to export a video file from After Effects. And the way I do that, there's actually 2 ways, but I'll use the new and improved way. There is the one that is direct, add to render queue, or there's the one called add to Adobe Media Encoder queue. That is the one that Adobe apparently wants us to use because they nerfed this one, so it's not fully functional. So I click this, and that starts up yet another program. Which is actually a quite good encoding program. And there we go. It's important that you have your composition selected when you do this, because it's sending that composition as a project to the media encoder. Let's see. I'll just make this smaller so that it can be okay. So you can see I have my project over here. That is this line here. I can choose where I want it to save by clicking the output file. It's made like a link, so I put it on desktop, and it'll be named Untitled MP4. And then I can use presets and format. So I click the format button here, and it's just trying to figure out what it is. There we go. So I get this window here where I can choose my settings. I wanted to export using the compression standard called H.264. That is the compression method that is used in Blu-ray discs and most of the places. There is a newer standard that is quite prominent that's called 265 or HEVC, but it's only available in the newer versions of the program, so I'm not going to use that. But this here, the new one, is actually compressing the video twice as much at the same quality. So, and that's important because now there will be 8K TVs, and the video for that will be crazy. But I'll just use H.264. You can see you can do QuickTime and AVI, God forbid it, DNX, HD, etc. Lots of different formats. But we'll use the H.264, the default one. It's set to export both video and audio. We don't have any audio in our scene, so we can just uncheck that. So it will not export on audio now. We can see the output will be on desktop. It will be 960 by 540, 25 FPS, progressive. It will use variable bitrate with 1 pass. I'll change that to 2 in a second. It will go for a target bitrate of 10 megabaud or megabit with a maximum bitrate of 12. And we can see that the source was something similar, and it actually thought the source had audio, but it didn't. So I'll just scroll down here. Let's see. You can see that when I go a little further, it will say encoding VBR 1 pass. I'll set it to 2 pass. The difference between 1 pass and 2 pass is that at 1 pass, it'll just try to compress it at the right amount, guessing as it goes. If you're using 2 pass, what it'll do is it'll run through the video. It will make an analysis of the complexity of the video, so that it knows where it should use more data to actually compress it in a nice way, and then it will. It is prepared for the second pass, where it can say, okay, this is a complicated area, I will put more data into this, and this is a simple area, I'll use less data there. A simple example: if you have a film and there's maybe the intro, there's 5 seconds where the screen is black. It would be stupid to use 10 megabit to just do black. You can do it with far less. On the other hand, there might be a crazy action scene where there's explosions and I don't know. In that area, you'd like to use more megabits to be able to save that information without being too badly destroyed. So that's why VBR 2 pass is good. Target bitrate, I'll just 10 is fine, but I'll just set it to 5 for the target, and maximum I'll leave at 12. And that should be good. Over here you can see the source versus the output. So you can, at least with some formats, you can see how badly it will be destroyed by your compression. And when you're done, you click OK. And then there's this little green Go button up here. And you click that, and it will start to render your scene as a video. There we go. It's done. So I'll then just need to find it on my desktop. It is in the desktop folder and it's called Untitled. It's this thing here. So I'll double click that. And I get a nice little video running of the clip. So that's the first thing this morning.